The Saints win an OT thriller in Atlanta after a shootout with the Falcons. And as Drew Brees adds to his Hall of Fame legacy, the secondary still has plenty of holes. Plus, LSU outlasts Louisiana Tech, but it wasn't without some drama. And Louisiana's best volleyball player has Mount Carmel seeking a 5th straight state title. The Saints win a shootout in Atlanta, and Drew Brees makes NFL history. What up? Welcome to 4th Down on 4. I'm Ricardo Lecomte. Drew Brees broke the NFL career completion record Sunday, and Teron Armstead said number 9 is the greatest of all time. There's no debating the left tackle on this. So we want to know from you, is Drew Brees the greatest signal caller in NFL history? Simple yes or no. We'll have the results at the end of the show. Doug Mouton wraps up Brees' historic day and the Saints' overtime win from Atlanta.
Almost 5 quarters of offensive football ended with a quarterback sneak. Drew Brees did the honors to cap a 15-play, 80-yard drive to win it.
Great team win all the way around. Very satisfying coming off an effort like that to walk away with a victory.
The OT drive was 80 yards. The fourth quarter drive that tied the game was 81 yards. And Brees ended that one with the most improbable spin move.
Realize, hey, I'm take off and get what I can. And at some point I felt like they were coming to try to take my head off and I could probably spin out of this. And it was just a reaction.
Drew is a freak. What y'all fail to realize, Drew Brees is a freak. He's a freak athlete. And I wasn't surprised that he made the guy miss, but I was really, really happy.
I keep telling my flag football team that like spin moves are good, and they're not getting it. They're not believing me. So I'm glad that happened because now I have video evidence to show them that, hey, spin moves work.
Sean Payton said when it was over, his team was exhausted. Maybe the most exhausted guy of all was Alvin Kamara, who got it 34 times rushing, receiving, and on punt returns, and Kamara delivered.
I haven't seen the sheet to see how many plays he ran, and it felt like a lot. How many plays he got, felt like a lot, a lot of touches. You felt like guys were pretty gassed by the end of that game, just kind of pouring their heart into it and giving every ounce of energy that they could, including him.
Kamara got the ball 34 times for more than 200 total yards. And for this game, at least, the Saints did not worry about managing his touches.
We came into the game with the mentality we were going to win. And sometimes that's against conventional wisdom, and sometimes it goes against what the numbers suggest you should do.
The Saints got a bunch of big-time contributions. Alex Okafor blocked a Falcon punt. Mike Thomas caught 10 more passes for 129 yards. And Taysom Hill sparked the offense with plays like this.
I call him Vic, and he was here in Atlanta, number 7. He made a big play. I love Vic. Anytime he gets his hands on the ball, he can take it the distance. He's an incredible athlete.
He is someone that's smart. He loves playing football. It's amazing the energy you feel on our bench when he made the long run, and he brings that same juice to special teams, and everyone gets better. Those are unique players. Those are guys that love playing football, and so I think our job as coaches is constantly looking at how do we give them chances to do things they love well.
Of course, it wasn't all good. Matt Ryan was terrific, exposing major problems with the Saints' coverage.
You can't have guys running through the defense like Julio Jones with no one around him. That'll have to get corrected. But we got some of the key stops when we needed.
The Falcons had 1 minute 5 seconds and 3 timeouts. Plenty of time to get in field goal range for the win. And the Saints forced a punt.
I don't know what time was left with three timeouts, but plenty. And I thought it was a big stand for us.
I try to tell everybody, look, I put my money on us. At the end of the day, we did just enough to get our offense back to our balls back to our offense and go in and get the win in overtime.
That says it all. The Saints did just enough. They leave Atlanta 2-1, and they have not played their best football yet. Reporting at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Doug Mouton, Eyewitness Sports.
The NFC South may be the toughest division in football. The Saints improved to 2-1. Undefeated Tampa Bay leads the way. The Bucs host the Steelers on Monday Night Football. The Panthers beat the Bengals, so the division is a combined 7-4 on the year, the best combined record out of any division in the NFL. For more analysis on today's overtime win, we head back out to Doug in Atlanta.
All right, joined by Nick Underhill, who of course covers the Saints for our partners at The Advocate. Look, let's start with Kamara and Thomas. They're getting the ball a boatload of times. It's good because they deserve it and they're delivering, but at some point you have to start managing the workload, right?
You'd think so, but Mike Thomas has been thrown out 40 times through 3 games, 38 catches. One of those is a drop. He seems unstoppable right now, and really he's playing at a level that just seems unfathomable. You know, the first 2 years were great, and you're kind of wondering how he can get better in year 3. He's definitely way better in year 3. Alvin Kamara, too, he hasn't slowed down at all. You'd like to see him doing a little bit more in the running game, and I think that's an issue overall for the Saints. I thought they ran well today, but the volume just wasn't there. But, you know, a lot of action happening on the screens, and that's kind of an extension of it, too. They need to get more guys going, though, overall. It becomes a little bit predictable, but it's working for him. I thought Ben Watson did okay. Cam Meredith finally got a catch today, which is significant. You know, Ted Ginn would have been more involved if he hadn't dropped 2 passes. So the opportunities are there for other guys. Maybe just get that distribution spread out a little bit. But, hey, man, if he's catching the ball like that, it's not a problem at all.
And look, I know it's the question of all time, but Drew Brees was so good again. The way he went toe-to-toe with Matt Ryan, this was unbelievable to watch from a quarterback play standpoint, wasn't it?
I thought he came back good from last week, too. I thought against the Browns, you know, it wasn't a vintage Brees type game. It was a little bit poor. He admitted that himself, bluntly stating that he missed 2 sure touchdown throws. And I thought he came back today and played very well. Not only did he go toe-to-toe with Matt Ryan, he went toe-to-toe with Taysom Hill, showing off his versatility in the run game with a beautiful spin move and then, you know, the jump over the pile at the end to seal the victory. But, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good bounce-back game for him. And, you know, 2 out of 3 games, he's looked like, you know, a young Drew Brees. He hasn't lost a step at all.
Matt Ryan did expose some problems on the Saints' defense, though, didn't he?
Well, I mean, it's just the continued, you know, exposure of this defense. 3 weeks in a row, you've seen coverage bust over and over every single game. It's a little bit surprising because the secondary is supposed to be the strength of the defense, and you could make the argument right now that they're the thing holding the defense back, and I really don't think that's an outlandish statement at all. It's quite obvious when you see Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley just running free all over the defense, and they tried to make the change with P.J. Williams starting at cornerback, and the Falcons came out and said, you know what, we're going to throw at him over and over and over. He had to come off the field, and then Ken Crawley comes in, and Ken Crawley's still giving stuff up. And then Patrick Robinson goes out, and they're both out there, and they're both giving stuff up. So they got to figure that out. They got to figure out the communication. Whatever it is, whatever reason they aren't able to cover guys on a snap-to-snap basis, that's got to be figured out quickly, or else eventually that is going to cost them a game. And, you know, it already has one, and it's just going to get worse. You can't count on Brees for 37, 40 points every single week.
Maybe the single most interesting thing 3 games in, and you said this as soon as we walked into the post-game press conference, you said, look, 3 games in, right now it feels like this team is 0-3, and they're actually 2-1. For all the problems, this team is 2-1, and it seems like those problems can be fixable, right? I mean, to be 2-1 at this point is really good considering this team is far from its best ball. Agreed?
Yeah, if the Saints showed you anything last year, is that you aren't what you are in September and December. Like, so if they're playing poorly early and they find a way to figure it out, that's fine. You know, it's just a matter of figuring that things out. But there have been a lot of bad things through these 3 games. I mean, but they are 2-1, and that's kind of what matters. And, you know, some guys like to call September extended preseason, and that's kind of, you know, they can't do a lot of stuff in training camp. They can't hit. You're live tackling for the first time. And there's just a lot of things that you got to sort out and figure out. And if you're winning while you're figuring those things out, it's great. It's just they got to make sure they figure those things out.
No doubt about it. Nick Underhill, terrific job as always. The Saints 2-1. Ricardo, back to you.
Coming up, LSU's rushing game helps the Tigers go to 4-0 with a win over Louisiana Tech. And Renee Nato helps us break down the Tigers' win, as well as where Tulane, Nichols, and Southeastern stand after this week. And later, we'll introduce you to Mount Carmel's Ellie Holzman, who's hoping to lead the Cubs to a 5th straight state championship.
Fourth Down on 4 is sponsored by the Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Gulf Coast. Forget Vegas, you've got home field advantage.
A little too close for comfort last night in Death Valley. LSU raced out to an early lead, only to see Louisiana Tech storm back to make it a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. But LSU responded and came away with the win. The Tigers are 4-0, but they're not resting on their laurels.
Brosette. Touchdown LSU.
Ed Ogeron worried the Tigers would come out flat after their emotional win last Saturday at Auburn. Running backs Nick Brosette and Clyde Edwards-Helaire made sure that wasn't the case. The running back duo combined for 214 yards and 5 touchdowns, pounding away on the Bulldogs' defense.
We've always been waiting for this. We always talked about it, and now it's coming. It's right here, you know. We just have to set the tempo for this offense, and I think we've been doing a really good job at it right now, and you know, the future is bright for both of us.
Our offense is beginning to click. That's something that's always beneficial for everyone, and being able to get better week to week is something that we talked about with Coach E, and it's beginning to happen.
The two helped LSU jump out to a commanding lead. The offense set up with good field position because of an opportunistic defense. 2 turnovers in the first half. The first on a fumble created by former Rummel standout Christian Fulton and recovered by Devin White. And the second, an interception by safety Ed Paris, which led to a 28-yard scamper by Edwards-Helaire to give the Tigers a 24-0 lead.
It's bobbled and taken away by LSU.
But that defense let a very good Louisiana Tech offense operate after that. Jamar Smith threw the ball 50 times in the contest. Adrian Hardy caught 10 of those passes, 2 for touchdowns. His last came early in the fourth quarter, which cut LSU's lead to 24-21.
With an explosive offense like that, we never thought that we just had the game won. We kept on playing. It took everything we got with our first team.
We step on people's necks, we kind of let up or let loose or kind of overthink something, and then we give up a big play, and then, you know, it's really no bickering. You know, we just got to finish it out.
The Tigers did finish out. After the Tech score, LSU went on a 12-play, 70-yard drive, capped by Brosette's 3rd touchdown of the game. And then the defense got a turnover on downs before sealing the game away with another score.
Edwards-Helaire.
Despite the win, the Tigers didn't play a complete game. That's what they'll strive for going into next Saturday's game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, we got to get better. I've been saying that the whole time. You know, hey, listen, we went down to Auburn, we fought, things went our way. But we can't play like that and expect to win the SEC. We got to get better. We got to start this week, and Ole Miss is coming to town. We got to be ready.
All right, we're going to talk more college football with Renee Nadeau from Crescent City Sports. And Renee, LSU's start to the season, I don't think anyone expected as they started outside of pretty much at the top 24, 25 to be a top 5 team. So I'm going to ask you this. Give me one thing that surprises you in this LSU start to this 4-0 start. And then give me something that concerns you as the Tigers move forward.
Well, I'm going to answer it this way, first of all.
Okay.
I want everybody to take a deep breath and exhale because LSU has 16 new starters on offense and defense. Something that's really, really surprising to me is they are +8 in giveaway takeaway. They only turned the ball over once this year with last night. Their offensive line is not stacked, yet they're playing very, very well. Ricardo, they played great against Auburn. They're blocking much, much better. You got a lot of pieces in there, moving parts, and they're playing much better, and they're keeping Joe Burrow's jersey clean for the most part. So I have no problem with that, and they've far exceeded most people, 5-7, 6-6. I mean, right now they're on 4. Of course, they could lose the rest of the season, but they far ahead of where most prognosticators thought they would be.
Yeah, you look at what's coming up. You've got Ole Miss, then you go to at Florida, which is, of course, that rivalry game is always intense, and then that stretch of 3 games with Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. Do you think the Tigers can navigate that if they continue playing the way they are?
And that's the unknown. The thing is you got to worry about, and no one will know until it happens, is injuries. How will they overcome injuries? And this group is still kind of meshing and gelling and learning how each other's moves. As I said, you got a lot of new starters there. So this is kind of just getting over the exhibition season, if you will, even though there was a Miami and an Auburn in there. And I think they're just starting to realize how good this team can be. And when you have a defense, as you know,
yes,
that's half the battle.
All right, let's move uptown for Tulane. And I think there was a lot of optimism coming into the year that the Green Wave, this is the year they would get to a bowl game. And it seems at the start of this season, it's kind of the same old story, not being able to close games. They lost that one to Wake Forest to open the season. They go on the road and lose to UAB. What do you think is the problem or the issue that's holding back the Green Wave from finally getting over the hump?
There's three things that I think are kind of issues. Jonathan Banks, being in a position he's in as quarterback, he didn't make that quantum leap that a lot of people anticipated he would be. Last year they saw some promise. He didn't make that big leap. He's making some kind of bad decisions. There's inconsistency in the offensive line, which goes hand in hand with a lot of problems he's having. And that defense is very young. Coach Jack Curtis is doing a really good job, but you got a lot of young players, and they're not quite there yet. So you really don't know what you're going to get with Tulane. It could be, you could come up with a big upset. I mean, Memphis is going to be a big game, yes, and this is a game they have a chance, but they would have to play to their biggest, highest potential. Or you could, play and the bottom could drop out. So you don't know. Tulane is somewhere in between right now.
Do you think Justin McMillan is the answer? You got some time in that, some garbage time against Ohio State. Is McMillan maybe the answer over Banks at quarterback once he gets caught up to speed?
I don't know if he's the answer, but I think Justin McMillan, you're going to see him get some reps in the very near future. It may be this week, but I think Justin McMillan is a guy that they're going to give a shot to and maybe jumpstart this offense and see if it makes a difference.
You've watched both Nichols and Southeastern and Southland, and I think the Colonels probably are the favorite to maybe win this division. You've seen the Colonels firsthand. Do you feel like they are the favorites to take home a conference title?
That was a big game last night,
yes,
Sam Houston State. And when you have the #1 defense in the conference, which the Colonels do, you have a chance. Chase Forcade, as he goes, that team is going to go. And a lot of things would have to happen, Ricardo, but right now the Colonels can run that table, and if they do, they're going to be among the elite in the FCS.
Real quickly, do you think Frank Selfo's guiding the Lions in the right direction? They did pick up their first win on Saturday.
They got to reshape. They reshaped that roster right now, but he's got Chase and Virgil, which is, when you got a passer like he is, you have a good chance. But it's going to take a little while for Frank Selfo. He is going to recruit within 80 to 90 miles of the campus. He's doing it the right way. He won't go the JUCO route, which they had done previously.
Renee, good stuff as always. Thank you very
Ricardo.
much. And we've got more 4th Down on 4 coming up after this.
Still ahead, the Mount Carmel Cubs are after a 5th straight Division I championship, and senior Ellie Holzman could be the first player in Louisiana history to earn one prestigious honor for the 3rd time. That story when we come back.
The drive for 5 for the Mount Carmel volleyball team. The Cubs have won the last 4 Division I state volleyball championships, and a 5th is in sight, with the best volleyball player in the state leading the way.
So if you're not in, you're shagging balls, you're rotating. Yeah,
putting the work in to become a champion. Ellie Holzman knows it starts right here. She's seen the results before. Holzman, the centerpiece for the 4-time defending state champs.
Started on varsity when I was a freshman. I looked up to the seniors, and it's crazy to think that I'm in that position now. The freshmen and everyone else is looking up to me. Even last year they were, but this year having that senior title just gives me that extra oomph.
The drive to succeed ingrained in Holzman.
Nice ball, nice ball.
She walked into the Mount Carmel gym as an 8th grader with it.
I kept hearing about this 6-footer who was coming to Mount Carmel, and I'm like, oh, awesome. Found her first day of school here, just so I can see who I've been hearing about. And as humble as she is, she was so sweet. She introduced herself to me.
What followed? Dominance by Holzman on the court.
She wants the ball in high-pressure situations. She wants the ball when the game's on the line, and you can't teach that.
I just love the competitiveness of it, and I love how I control myself under pressure, and I always want the ball when the game is close because I have the confidence in myself to put the ball away.
Holzman, part of a long list of volleyball greats to come through Mount Carmel, and she has a chance to pull off an unprecedented feat both in state and school history by becoming the first 3-time winner of the Gatorade Louisiana Player of the Year award. Holzman garnering all the accolades, but she says she can't do it alone.
the accolades are always a representation of how well the team is doing. So it just shows how I could not do this without my team, without my coaches.
Ellie's definitely been one of the top athletes I've ever coached, and I was so blessed to have coached her.
Holzman will move on to play volleyball in the Big Ten next year at Illinois.
Switch, last one.
But before she leaves this gym for the final time, she wants to win one for the thumb.
That's just the perfect ending to my high school storybook, and that's just how I picture it. That's how I want it to end, and I think everyone's on the same page as me.
And we're back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute.
All right, time for our results to our sports poll question. Is Drew Brees the greatest NFL quarterback of all time? Well, if you ask this question in New Orleans, you figure that Drew Brees would get a lot of votes. 90% of you think he is the greatest quarterback of all time. Forget Tom Brady, forget Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, the best to go down. Hey, he will be holding most of these records probably by the end of the year. Thanks for joining us. For Doug, Andrew Doak, producer Danny Rockwell, sports photographer Adam Ney, and the rest of the Eyewitness Sports team, I'm Ricardo LeCompte. Have a great week.
4th Down on 4 has been sponsored by the Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Gulf Coast. Forget Vegas, you've got home field advantage.